One question that One Piece fans across the globe wonder is how many Straw Hat members will the crew finalize at? Today's video will explore and answer this topic with the masterful foreshadowing and framework that Oda has been using all along. From the worshipping of sun god Nika, to the lore of real life people, to the countless parallels and inversions present, this video will conclude all of your worries. There's a reason that Vivi is with Morgans eavesdropping on Egghead audio while in the vicinity of the island. There's a reason why Bonney showcased Nika-ish abilities in the most recent chapter, which is building up to something much greater. It's because both Vivi and Bonney's father admire and respect Luffy, so it'll be ultimately up to the Straw Hats to be the safe haven of these two damsels in distress. But before we jump into this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more theory videos on the brand new Evil channel. And the last thing before we jump in is a major shout out to a Discord friend of mine named King J. He really pitched me a bunch of ideas and we went back and forth on this topic for months, and I just have to give him some love and give him some credit because he came up with a lot of great takes in this video. So yeah, big shout out to him. And if you guys want to share your theories and takes with me, just join my Discord server at discord.gg/333VIL. So to begin this video, let's actually dismantle all of the big counterpoints and counter arguments that people make when it comes to new crew members in the Straw Hat Pirates. People tend to say that they don't see Bonney and Vivi joining or Yamato and Vivi joining because they can only see one more crew member being added to the list. I find this to be a limited choice fallacy because there's nothing in the story that really proves that there's gonna be only one more crew member. And yes, there's one panel from chapter 1, which was decades ago in real life, where Luffy said that he wanted at least 10 men on his pirate ship. But one thing we need to keep in mind is, again, this is decades old in real life. Luffy wasn't even a real pirate. He didn't even have a crew. He didn't know what a warlord was. Luffy had no knowledge of anything at the time. And I'm sure Oda had to move a bunch of things around. I know from even concept art, Oda didn't even add, I think it was Jinbei or a certain crew member. So Oda didn't have the full glimpse of what the Straw Hat Pirates would look like at the end of the story. So I find this panel to be a bit too much to like solidify that there will only be one more member. You know, alongside that, we have other examples where Luffy claims that he's going to take down all 4 Yonko, including Big Mom. But if you go and read through the Wano arc, it's pretty evident that Law and Kid were the ones to take down Big Mom, not Luffy. And you guys know me, I'm a big theorist. I always look at dialogue and use dialogue, but we just have to be careful because at the end of the day, a lot of what we say are theories. Luffy saying that he's going to have at least 10 more members doesn't mean that it's going to be only 10 members, just like how Luffy technically didn't keep his promise when it comes to taking down Big Mom. Now with that big counter argument kind of out the way, the next 2 segments of this video is going to be for Vivi and Bonney. To start out with Vivi, we know that she basically is not safe anywhere across the globe. Alabasta seems like it's going to be attacked by the world government given everything we saw during the Reverie incident. We even know that Imu basically wanted to retrieve Vivi, so she's on the run. She can't afford to go back to Alabasta. I think revolutionary characters such as Koza are a great fit to run Alabasta while Vivi seeks sanction. And the only place that I really see her seeking sanction and finding a nice home to be at would be with the Straw Hat Pirates. This wouldn't even be the first time in the story where Vivi went to the Straw Hat Pirates and went to Luffy specifically and found sanction there and, you know, maintained her peace and livelihood with the Straw Hats. I've spoken about this in other videos as well, but I do believe that Kuma actually has a mythical Zoan Devil Fruit, which would be the Hito Hito no Mi model Bastet. I don't want to get off topic with this video, so if you want to know the full rundown of that cat goddess devil fruit Kuma potentially has, check the video at the top right of the screen. But with that being said, a lot of people do think that Vivi's gonna get Kuma's devil fruit, and by her doing this on the Egghead Island arc, this would basically cement the pun of 2-9. I know many of you guys have heard this before. A lot of the Straw Hat members on the crew have number puns based on their devil fruits. The only pun that's missing is 2-9, and I think that would fit the Ni-Q devil fruit. And it makes a lot of sense for this to happen. We know that Kuma left Kamabaka Kingdom and then he left Marijwa, and the angle that Kuma was running at was not towards the castle, it was towards the sea. It makes a lot of sense that Kuma's going to go to Egghead Island and die for his daughter, similar to something like Whitebeard at Marineford dying for his son Ace. But with that being said, we know that Vivi's on an airship with Morgans because he's eavesdropping on Egghead audio with a certain Den Den Mushi. This implies that they are on their way and they're actually in the vicinity of the island to hear the audio in the first place. Not only that, but even in the same panel, Vivi's saying, "Oh my god, Luffy." There's no way that Vivi's gonna be on the run being hunted down by Imu, the god king of the world, and not go with Luffy and reunite with Luffy. So I could see basically Kuma and Vivi crossing paths on the Egghead Island, almost like X, you know, the thing that signifies her being a crew member. Another thing that I find to be a really cool pattern and pretty thematic, honestly, is we know that earlier in the story, Nami ended up leaving the crew and rejoining. Then we know later on in the story, Robin left the crew and ended up rejoining. So I could see a scenario where a third girl, in this case Vivi, left the crew at Alabasta and ended up returning. And we can even pull out the magnifying glass and get a bit specific with her rejoining the crew, because when she first crossed paths with the Straw Hat Pirates, do you remember when that was? It was right before Little Garden, technically the arc before Little Garden. Like, just think about it, how poetic and how beautiful would that be? Vivi first crossed paths with the Straw Hats right before a giant arc known as Little Garden, and then she rejoins the crew on Egghead Island, which would be an arc right before the giant island of Elbaf. And we can really key in on why it's so thematic for these characters to leave the crew and then rejoin the crew, because I have something mind-blowing for you. Barati was part of the Arlong saga, where Nami rejoined when another Straw Hat, Sanji, joined in the same saga. Robin rejoined in the same saga, which was Water 7, in which another Straw Hat named Frankie joined. So Vivi's going to rejoin when Bonney joins in the same arc, which is Egghead. It's all thematic. It's almost like characters are switching in and out like a tag team wrestling match. And speaking about wrestling matches and fighting matches, I do have another tinfoil point for you. This one's a little wild. We know that it's basically only been Nami that's able to beat up Zoro and really lay a pounding on him, but aside from Nami, the only other girl in the crew that's done that is Vivi herself. We didn't see Robin do such a thing. So again, tinfoil, very silly, but I just thought I would throw that in there. And the last point I'll throw in for Vivi is I think it's really thematic for both her and Bonney to rejoin in the same arc, given their lineage. If you think about it, the Nefertari family is essentially Celestial Dragon rejects. And we know the sad story behind Ginny, the mother of Bonney, and in a sense, she was a Celestial Dragon reject. So I find these two characters to be so fitting, and like they would just fit so well together, having joined the Straw Hat crew. And especially when we circle this all back now towards the beginning of the Vivi argument. We talked about how Vivi will most likely get the devil fruit of Kuma, the Paw devil fruit. So how ironic would it be for a girl who's rejoining the crew to get the devil fruit of the father of a new crew member? It just makes way too much sense to ignore. And that's basically it for the Vivi portion of the video. Now we're gonna jump into the Bonney segment that will sort of tie into Vivi a little bit more. So with Bonney joining the crew, right off the bat, I find this to be very thematic. We know that there's two fathers in One Piece known as Kuma and Monkey D. Dragon. Then there's two children in One Piece known as Bonney and Monkey D. Luffy. So if you pull out the magnifying glass, in terms of parents, we have Kuma following a Monkey D. Now it'd be very poetic in terms of children if Bonney also followed a Monkey D. This right here is totally in the style of Oda's writing, and I just can't see him not doing this. Like, just take a close look at Kuma himself. He was raised being taught about Sun God Nika from his father, and he even passed this on to other characters such as his own daughter. We know that Kuma not only worked in a church, but he was also a pastor that would literally pray down to crosses. Then he even grew much older to then walk around the One Piece world with a literal Bible. He is the most Christian religious man in the entire story. I can't imagine that he makes his way back to Egghead Island, sees Sun God Nika, and doesn't influence his daughter to join his crew. Like, that should be a big key thing for both Kuma and Bonney. Like, they appreciate Nika, especially in this most recent chapter. We even see that Bonney went so far out of her way to use this age devil fruit to have a Nika-ish ability. This is something signifying and really cementing Bonney's love for Sun God Nika, and there's no way she wouldn't appreciate joining Luffy's crew. Like, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why Bonney didn't just go to the Revolutionary Army after that Vegapunk Egghead fiasco? It's because she explicitly said that she wanted to be a pirate. That's exactly why she literally made a pirate crew. So if she discovers Sun God Nika to be Luffy on Egghead Island, why would she then switch her mind and join the Revolutionary Army? That doesn't make any sense to me, and that would just further influence her to join the Straw Hat Pirates. And she would be a great fit. Think about how much of a glutton she's been, just like Luffy himself. She even went out of her way, and a lot of One Piece fans were questioning this panel at the time, but she was talking about Sanji's cooking as well. It seems like little by little, Oda's trying to nudge us in the direction that she's a good fit for the crew, and I do believe she is. Now, a lot of people are against Bonney joining the Straw Hat Pirates because she has her own crew. Bro, her own crew is literally just church workers from Sorbet. They aren't even real pirates. And one thing that I would use to counter-argue the counter-argument is look at Jinbei. He had his own crew. What about Jinbei? Should he have never joined the Straw Hat Pirates? And I would actually use Jinbei as a perfect example and reason that characters with their own crew could still join the Straw Hat Pirates. Once Luffy and Kuma, fix this whole Egghead situation, I could see a scenario where Gyogyo and Potato and all these other guys just go back to Sorbet Kingdom and live the lives they were supposed to. The only reason these guys became pirates is because they wanted to look after Bonney in the first place. So yeah, one of the things that Bonney actually wants in this world is to become a pirate, not a Revolutionary Army member. One thing we also know that Bonney wants is to visit Fishman Island. I I think this is going to come full circle when we think about how Luffy is prophesized to destroy Fishman Island in the future. If Bonney hops on the ship and they go from island to island, eventually reaching Fishman Island and burning it, breaking it down towards the end of the story, she might as well just be a crew member at that point. And I could detect Oda's stellar foreshadowing. Out of every island in the One Piece story, one of the few islands she actually named is Fishman Island, again tying into the prophecy. Now, Bonney also said that she wanted to visit the Sky Islands with Kuma. I'm wondering if this foreshadows that the Straw Hats will have to go back to the Sky Islands for some reason in the future of the story. We know that Elbaf has a gigantic tree, most likely the Atom Tree, it's heavily implied at this point, that might tie into real life mythology such as the Tree of Yggdrasil. Perhaps this tree reaches a special Sky Island that'll hold the Final Road Poneglyph, or perhaps you have to use this gigantic tree to reach the moon. I think this would be an awesome introduction to Moon Piece. It's something we've been waiting for forever, and maybe this will also be the return of NL. Alright, sorry, we went a little bit off topic there, but speaking about NL, we know he's a fake god just like the Celestial Dragons in the One Piece world, and we know that Bonney hates the Celestial Dragons after what they did to not only her mom, but also her father. I think that makes her parallel and fit with characters like Robin who were traumatized and suffered at the hands of Celestial Dragons as well. So this would actually give Bonney motivation to join the Straw Hat Pirates. If she knows that Luffy is Sun God Nika, the warrior of liberation, the man who will ultimately take down the world government, why wouldn't she want to join that crew and help? I could imagine a panel or a scene where Bonney's explicitly saying like, yeah Luffy, you're the man who's going to become the Pirate King and take down the world government, let me help you, let me join the crew. So yeah, in that sense, Bonney does parallel characters like Robin, but it goes even further. I find it to be very cool that if Bonney joined the crew, that would be two young girls in the One Piece storyline with huge bounties because of the world government that ended up joining the Straw Hat Pirates. This parallel right here between Bonney and Robin acts as a foreshadowing parallel towards the conclusion of her joining the Sanganika Devil Fruit crew. Like especially after this Egghead incident that will shock the world. I expect many characters on this arc to have a bounty increase, and that character list includes someone like Bonney. Like at this rate, what is Bonney gonna do? She's already been hunted down by Blackbeard and Akainu in the past. She needs an actual crew. She needs an actual army to help her. Characters like Gyogyo are not enough to do that. So again, just like the Vivi situation, Bonney is a young girl that's seeking sanction, that needs a home, that needs to be protected. Who better to have it done by than the Sun God Nika himself? We also know that Bonney on several occasions has asked Kuma if she will be liberated by Nika. Her sailing under Luffy's flag and becoming an actual Straw Hat member would be an awesome way to have her liberated by Nika, especially if she has this goal of taking down the world government. This is a perfect alignment. And we've seen this done throughout the story, with Luffy liberating every other Straw Hat crew member. I also do find it a bit suspicious how Luffy used to call Bonney Boggy, and then he actually changed it and started calling her Bonney, unlike Yama-O or Tra-O. This makes me think like she's going to be a legit crew member and Luffy basically has to get the name straight. Now a second ago, I did actually mention that Bonney's a big eater and a glutton like Luffy, but I actually want to focus in that real quick, because we know that Bonney is based on a real life pirate named Anne Bonny. She sailed during the golden age of piracy and she was an actual pirate, not a Revolutionary Army commander. So when we talk about Bonney's character, she's a die-hard pirate, not a revolutionary. And the reason I say all this is because Bonney is a big eater pirate, and that's just like Luffy, he's a big eater pirate. So I see a scenario right in front of my eyes where Bonney is basically a younger sister to Luffy as like a big eater, and this would make her an apprentice of the Straw Hat Pirates, but still a crew member. And this would be awesome, because think about the Blackbeard Pirates. We know that they have 10 Titanic captains, so if both Vivi and Bonney join the crew and Vivi gets Kuma's Devil Fruit, then Vivi could essentially be the 10th, captain that fights against the Blackbeard Pirates, while Bonney is kind of on the side, almost like a Sanji secret spiral throughout the arc, tying up loose ends, using her Devil Fruit to her advantage. And this would make her a much better apprentice than say Tama or Momonosuke. Now another big counter argument to Bonney joining the crew is that Bonney is too young to join the crew. Well, if Bonney was an apprentice to the Straw Hat Pirates, then it kind of bypasses this age requirement that first of all wasn't even stated in the story. And then we would also have to question characters like Chopper. Me myself, I love Chopper. I love the Drum Island arc. I love his backstory, the connection to Hero Look. He is a spectacular character when he can be. But if we're gonna argue that Bonney is too young to join the Straw Hats, then we have to question Chopper with his constant blushing, silly remarks. He can't tell when people have disguises on. He is very immature. And again, I'm not hating on Chopper. I'm just trying to say that we should hold Chopper to that same standard. And by looking at Bonney in recent chapters and seeing how she's grown as a character and as a girl, I would say that emotionally and mentally, Bonney is more mature than Chopper. So with that being said, said, I hope you agree and hope you see where I'm coming from. So when it comes to Bonney and Vivi, they satisfy every condition when it comes to a Straw Hat crew member. Both of them have a tragic backstory, both of them need liberation, both of them have dreams, Luffy addresses both of them by their real name, they both would have a legit role in the crew, and both of them would want to go to Laugh Tale to learn more about their father and more about their lineage. These two damsels in distress, Vivi and Bonney, have nowhere to go other than one place: the Straw Hat Pirate crew.